Welcome to The Point of View for our viewers on the Point of View channel. This is your favorite current affairs show. Tonight we have a huge guest. He's the only man with the distinction of running Ghana's monetary and fiscal policy. Between 1997 and 2001, he was the governor of the central bank. Between 2009 and 2012, he was the Minister of Finance. So he's the right person to talk to us about the current challenges the economy is facing, and in particular, the travails of the current governor of the central bank. Dr. Kwabena Duffuor will be speaking to us. Now, if you like this video, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel and also like the video and share with your followers. Welcome back. So my guest tonight is the man, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. You can describe him how you want. Some will say former Minister of Finance, former governor. Some will say former presidential aspirant or presidential hopeful of the NDC. Business mogul, owns a number of companies. But he's in the flesh here to talk to us about the economy. Doc, good to have you. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. The name is Duffuor.
Duffuor?
Yes.
What does it mean, though?
Duffuor.
Duffuor.
It's an Ashanti name. When you say Duffuor, it becomes French.
Okay, so Duffuor, as against Tuffuor and Kufuor. Or Kufuor is Kufuor.
We have Duffuor.
Duffuor.
Then we have Kufuor.
Kufuor.
Tuffuor.
Tuffuor.
We have Jumfuor.
Jumfuor.
Tuffuor.
The four means somebody who does something.
I don't know.
So, but okay, whatever. But how have you been?
I'm very well.
You are well.
By His grace, very well.
You are fine. So between May, when the political thing subsided, and August, what have you been doing?
I do politics.
You're still doing politics?
Oh yeah, I was in Kumawu campaigning.
Oh, you're in Kumawu campaigning?
Sure. The by-election.
Okay.
We were there for 5 days. We campaigned.
Wow.
From there, went to Asin North. Also campaigned.
So you will be part of the 2024 campaign?
Why not?
Campaigning for who?
Joe Mahama. He must win.
Do you have a preferred opponent from the other side?
I want to wait.
You want to wait?
Till after Saturday.
So you will be part of the campaign?
Of course, yes.
How do you assess the NDC's chances?
We are winning.
Oh, you are winning?
NDC?
Yeah.
Of course we are winning.
You will win or you are winning?
We are winning.
What makes you so confident?
Because we are working.
Okay, but the government is not sleeping.
Eh?
But the MPP is not sleeping, no?
Well, we are working, we're also working. But they've done almost 7 years.
Yeah.
And we know what they've done. So they should let us also come and do our best. But you remember, 2009 to 2012, our performance has been the best since independence.
Since independence?
Yes, NDC's record between 2009 and 2012, no government has.
Even Nkrumah in his first 3 years? Because Nkrumah between 57 to 62 was pretty solid.
Yes, but
almost everything we have in Ghana today.
The infrastructure, he did so well. But I'm talking about the macroeconomic situation, our record, inflation,
per capita income,
currency.
Nkrumah's per capita income has not been defeated.
No, Nkrumah did well, especially manufacturing. It was so good.
So you need to qualify that. Maybe you've been the best since Nkrumah. I would contest you any day if you tell me you've been the best since independence. That cannot be true.
What? Eh?
You cannot be the best since independence. 2009 to 2009 to 2012, I was an adult and understood Ghana. I disagree if you say your record was the best since independence.
2009 to 2012?
Oh yes. The record was good, but it's not
all
up to
the indicators were first class.
But we don't eat
for
indicators.
40 years, the interest rate had come down so.
Yeah.
For 40 years, achieved that. The TB rate came below 10%, you remember? The CD over 4 years moved by at 60 pesos in 4 years. Our growth rate, GDP, 14.5 in 2011. Take away the oil factor, it was 9 point something. So for 4 years, 2010, we were 8%. 2011, 14.5%. 2012, over 8%. Which government have done this before.
And that was
NDC.
That was jobless growth. That's what the theory says, that your growth was great, but growth is supposed to translate into jobs. So we can argue that, yes, oil did a lot, even non-oil was good, but two things: the growth did not produce enough jobs, and then we couldn't sustain it after you left.
No, you see, you talk of growth. The job creation during our time was first class. The unemployment figure had dropped to 2.2% by the end of 2012, 2013. The figures are there.
You know, our unemployment rate is not a realistic measure because the unemployment rate in Ghana underscores a lot of underemployment. So if you use just the rate, official rate of unemployment, if you look at a 15% economic growth, the number of people who should have left poverty, the number of new jobs created should be much higher in the period that we are talking about.
No, during our time, Ghanaians didn't have problems looking for jobs. There were jobs.
Are you sure?
There were jobs.
We were adults in 2009, 2010.
2010,
Ghanaians didn't have problems looking for
2012,
jobs?
you ask them, as compared to now, today.
Really?
Yes.
I see. So that's interesting. So let's just wrap up on this politics thing. So what do you think the 2024 election will be about? What do you think the main issues will be?
About economy. About trying to create jobs for the youth because they are very worried, restless class. Whoever wins, we are winning, and we will put in place a program to create jobs for the youth.
If you win, you will be in the middle of an IMF program which started this year and is 3 years and can be extended. So 2024 will be the second year of the IMF program. So by January 7, whoever wins, he will be in the middle of the program, which leaves very few degrees of freedom to do anything.
We have been in the IMF program before, and we managed it. I would like to have the meeting we had with the IMF Managing Director in March 12, 2012, and her remarks. She was so impressed about the performance of the Ghanaian economy. To the extent that she was even talking about, we can even help you in the oil sector. So the IMF program will not stop us, NDC, from getting to those areas. We know how to.
Even though we've locked ourselves into many policies that have been tied to release of money. You know this better than I do, that after every 6 months there's a review, and the tranches come in on the basis of doing things agreed.
Yes.
And there are some very stringent, for example, every 3 months there's increase in tariffs. So this week there was increase in tariffs. It's been so since March. And these things will continue even into 2024, 25. A lot of our debt payments are due in the first month or first quarter of 2025. So it may be nice to say that you can do it, but if you look at the program details, whoever wins is going to struggle.
The program is not all that tight. The fiscal consolidation is not strong. Yes. The adjustment is about 5.1% of GDP. And it's not for just 1 year. For 2023, the adjustment of 5.1, 60% will be applied to 2023. The 40% will be from 2024 to 2026. You understand? So the fiscal consolidation program is not as tight as people are talking about. Not at all.
But will the program transform the economy?
We should be disciplined, you understand? No program can change the Ghanaian economy if you and I don't commit ourselves to building our nation.
So are you sort of saying that the program is like a necessary but insufficient condition for transformation?
We must make the program work. We must make sure that we commit ourselves to, for example, domestic revenue mobilization. It's very important. Without that, no program will succeed. Public finances, the pillar in the public finances is what? The domestic resource mobilization, revenue mobilization. There is no substitute to domestic revenue mobilization. There's no substitute. Unless
you are US or UK or Japan, where because you borrow in your own currency, you don't have a large external debt. So you can jack up the numbers and get more money. Because when the US economy was in trouble, they were able to just print more currency. But we can't do that. But the point, so I'm just qualifying what you're saying. So if you are France, if you are UK, if you are Japan or US, domestic revenue mobilization is not your only source of financing for your economy.
There are so many things we can do in our country. Our natural resources are not being managed to our advantage. You know that? Our natural resources, how might we get from our minerals, for example, from the oil, for example? If you read the minister's mini budget for 2021, he made a point about the oil, that 2021, we exported $3.9 billion of oil, and our share was 5.3 million only. He was trying to make a point. We can do more if we look at the extractive sector properly, if we look at our natural resources properly. There's so much we can make for ourselves and to change our lives.
But Doc, that's true, but your party has been in office longer than any other political party in Ghana. So talking about records, PNDC was in power for 19 years. NDC, okay, PNP stroke NDC, so Rawlings, right? 1981 to 2000. And then you hit another 8 years. So almost 25 years. So the kind of things you are talking about, you've been at the helm for many, many years. So if it's doable, why didn't you do them? As a collective for 25 years of NDC. P stroke NDC.
Yes, so what are you saying?
Yeah, so if you're telling me we have so many resources, we are not mobilizing them, we can get more from our goal. The party that you are part of, its antecedents was in power from 1981 to essentially 2000. That's 2 decades. And then you came back in 2008 to 2016, another 8 years. So you should be blamed for these issues.
I'm talking about Ghana.
Yeah.
I'm not saying MPP or NDC.
Yeah, but you've been in power for 25 years.
I'm saying that if I start by saying that we must be disciplined, we must be committed, that nobody can develop this country for us except you and I. You understand?
I do, but I'm just saying that you've been in office, so you should be the one that should be asking why we've not done it. It's easy to say we should do this or that, but it's the government that does it.
We are doing it. We are working. Right now, I have a think tank. You know it, IFS. We have been organizing seminars, writing papers, researches on the natural resources. What we can do to mobilize so much from the extractive sector. The papers are there. You understand? So we are working. This is not a political issue. It's a national issue.
Yeah, I'm just saying that our political elite are the ones who should be blamed.
No.
I have never been in government.
All of us must be blamed. All of us. We are responsible.
But what have I done?
You cannot blame political elites alone. All of us must be responsible.
But they take the decisions. They collect the taxes. They decide the priorities. They set up the economic policy. They implement all the policies. All we can do is to criticize or to comment.
You must well comply, but are you complying?
I pay my taxes.
I
work hard.
Ghana as a whole, are we paying our taxes? Why are we not able to mobilize enough to manage our country?
Is it a question of Ghanaians not paying taxes or the tax policy not being effective in generating the tax? So, for example, e-levy. It was a regressive, unproductive tax. You got less than 2 billion from it as a country now. So Ghanaians use the mobile money, but some of them opted out. Is that the citizens' fault or the poor design of the policy?
The e-levy, it was unfortunate. We spent so many months discussing a policy. So by the time it was approved, the beam had left. Yes. spent too many months talking about that policy. If it had been so low, maybe at the beginning, say 1%, would have succeeded. Remember, it was 2.5, and we spoke so much about it, but so many months arguing.
So the original design
was
not correct, and then the length of time discussing it did not help.
So
it gave the e-levy a bad name.
It was too low, yes. Yes.
Do you think the government should keep it or completely scrap it?
E-levy?
Yeah.
Are we getting enough from it?
I don't know.
Are we?
The government should be answering that question.
If we're not getting enough, it's a nuisance tax. We should scrap it.
But when you say we don't pay enough tax, I've heard corporates, for example, foreign investors say they are being hounded with too many taxes. Indeed, there was a GIPC program this week where a lot of foreign investors were complaining about they use the word the hounding tactics of the GRA. They feel under siege. You say we should raise more revenue. The government is trying to tax, and the companies say they are being overtaxed. How do you do it? Where do you do the balance?
If you go to other countries, when it's time for filing of tax returns, people line up, they queue to file. Do we see that in Ghana? Do we? Why don't we queue to go and file our returns? If you bid, in Kenya, in all African countries, they do it over here. We don't do that. Why?
Why do you think that's the case?
Indiscipline.
Indiscipline?
Indiscipline. You know that we manage a country with taxes, yet you don't want to pay your tax.
You're talking about direct tax now. Because anything I buy, I pay a tax. So indirectly, I'm taxed. So you're saying the citizens and the companies are not paying direct taxes enough.
That's correct. That's correct.
But that could also mean the government is not enforcing its own law.
Partly. That's what I'm saying. We are all responsible. I'm not blaming the government.
So how will
all of us.
How will an NDC government crack the tax problem?
We apply sanctions.
New ones or the existing ones? New sanctions, because there are lots of...
No, when we get to power, we look at taxes and then apply sanctions to those who don't.
But there are already sanctions for those who don't pay. If you don't pay your tax, sometimes at the end of the month, they will give you a certain percentage to pay. We even announce it on air. The GRA invites people to come and regularize.
Let's get our power and you'll see.
The power comes based on how you convince us. So if you don't convince us that you have something different, you will not get the power.
When we get power, we will raise that revenue to make your life better.
But we won't take that. We've heard that before. So now you can't just tell us you will do something.
No,
you have to explain how you do it and commit to doing it.
You know, at time we raise that revenue and make your life better.
Which time? 09 to 12?
13, yes. We did 13.
What about 2013 to 2016?
2014, there was a problem. 2014, there was a huge cedi dollar problem. You remember? Not so much of the depreciation of the cedi. It was not from domestic, not indigenous, but exogenous from outside. The oil price tumbled. Cocoa price also tumbled. Look at the figures. So 2024 was a bad year for us.
2014?
So 2014, yeah.
Is that what led to your defeat in 2016?
It affected us, yeah.
The government can say the same thing. A year ago today, which is August 2022, the cedi had moved from about 6 to the dollar to almost 15 by end of year. It sort of came back to 12. There was a collapse of the currency, and they also blame external factors. So what's the difference between the two situations?
In our case, the oil price tumbled. It went down. Cocoa price also went down. And as a nation, we hold the two crops seriously. Cocoa and oil. So when our prices suffer the way they suffered in 2014, it will affect the currency and the macroeconomic management.
But gold was still strong, unlike 2009. So in 1999, you had cocoa price fall, gold price fall, oil price go up. But in 2014, gold wasn't that bad.
No, 2000 was a tragedy. You know it. I mean, yes, I was at the central bank. Cocoa price dropped to $800 per metric ton. Gold price dropped to about $254 per ounce.
Mm-hmm.
And over the same period, the oil price shot up. So the city was under pressure.
Mm.
Yes. So there was a very huge, we call it trade shock in 2000, 99 quarter, last quarter, throughout 2000 up to September 2000. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fair enough, but if you look at 2022, last year, they said COVID had not fully gone. We hadn't recovered from COVID. The vice president calls it the triple whammy. We had COVID in 2020, and then the Russia-Ukraine war also came in.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the exposure to that country, according to the government, by the fact that we import a lot of grains, the Russia-Ukraine war affected supply chains. So, and then there was the US Fed raised their rates. So a lot of institutional investors in Ghana began, in not just Ghana, emerging economies started relocating their portfolios to US, UK. So they also, so the Dr. Obama said it was COVID, Russia, Ukraine, and then Janet Yellen working together to create the crisis we face. So I'm just saying that just like you lost the election in 2016 based on economic whatever, MPP also has an excuse to say it was all the external factors.
No, see, look at the figures properly. By 2019, we as a nation had hit the rock already.
Prior to COVID?
Before the COVID, we were in difficulty. Before the COVID, 3 expenditure items. Our debt burden, compensation of the employees, the public sector, the earmarked funds, refer to the 3 as rigid expenditure. It was so rigid that 2019, the figure stood up 122 point something
percent,
which means we had to, as a nation, had to borrow about 22-23% to complete paying the 3 2019 before the COVID. The fiscal situation, the public finances of our nation by 2019 had gone so bad before the COVID. The figures are there. And it's because, you see, between 2013 2021, we as a nation had borrowed so much from the international capital market, precisely Eurobond. We had borrowed about $15 billion. I'm not saying the funds were not good, but these are funds meant for self-financing schemes, projects. They are project funds. If you borrow $1 billion and it goes into a project that can pay for itself, you have no problem. You understand? But 15 billion were borrowed by us as a nation, and because these did not go into projects which were self-financing, our debt, what?
Debt to GDP?
No, the burden, the loan, the interest and the amortization, you call it what? Debt service. Our debt service burden has become so huge. 2022, the debt service burden stood at 19.5. By 2019, it was almost 68%.
Sorry, you mean from 2012?
Yes.
2012 it was 19.
19.5.
And then by 2022, 2019?
It was 67.9 or so, almost 70%
Of your revenue?
of our revenue.
Okay.
But about 19.5% of our revenue used to pay or service our debt in 2012.
And by 2019, it had gone to 68%.
About 70, yes, you understand. So it means before the COVID,
there was already problems.
We were in difficulty. We had borrowed so much, and the funds did not go into self-financing projects, which could pay themselves. You understand?
Yeah.
So before we got into 2010, before the COVID, we were in trouble.
So you don't buy the COVID and Russia-Ukraine explanation?
Not at all, because they will have an impact. But before that, we're down.
We're down already.
Yeah. Who said that it did not affect us? We are human beings. We're a nation. But before the COVID, we were having this challenge. We were not able to pay our debts, to service our debts. We had to borrow money to service our debts before the COVID. You understand?
This is the point of view. We're talking to Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. He is the only man who has been governor of the central bank and minister of finance. Now we need to qualify this. Mr. Arthur was a deputy finance minister under Rawlings during the PNDC era, and he became governor. But Dr. Duffuor was governor between 1997 and 2001, and then he became minister of finance between 2009 and 2012. He's sharing his views on the economy. We'll be right back to look at the current challenges facing the governor and the central bank. They've been under siege. The minority is going to picket at the central bank and demand that the governor resigns. They've also initiated a series of actions to get not just the governor but the management of the central bank to accept responsibility for the challenges the central bank is facing. We'll discuss some of those when we come back. Stay with us.
Looking to travel abroad this September, October, and November? Well, there's good news. Selk International Travel and Tour offers you another opportunity to travel to Singapore, to Canada, to France, and Dubai. Experience these tourist sites: Paris City, Disneyland Paris, Singapore City, Marina Bay Sands, and many more attractions. Experience these countries with ease with Selk International Travel and Tour. Package includes visa assistance, travel insurance, hotel and breakfast, selected attractions, internal transportation. Package fees: Paris tour $2,300, Singapore tour $1,350, Canada tour $4,950, and Dubai tour $1,540. If you are interested, take action now and get registered with Selk International Travel and Tour. Call our WhatsApp 059 272 5757 or 020 382 1113. Email info@selkgroup.com. Registration ends by 30th of August for most of the trips. Selk International Travel and Tour. The world, our mission. The people, our passion.
Welcome back to The Point of View. My guest is Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. He's the former governor of the Central Bank and also a former Minister of Finance. Just to give some quick overview of who he is, in 95, so before 1995, he was working at the Ghana Commercial Bank. Indeed, he's credited as the one who transferred government of Ghana's account from Commercial Bank to Central Bank. He also converted the Ghana Commercial Bank London branch into the Ghana International Bank PLC. This was 1998. He was appointed deputy governor in 95 and then later governor in 97. He introduced the repurchase agreement or the repos and the adoption of the automated book entry system for money markets. And he voluntarily retired from the bank in 2001 September, which is interesting because Duffuor won the 2020 election and Duffuor was president from January 2021. So for 9 months, he was the governor under J.A. Duffuor. We'll probably try and find out what happened there. Now in 2009, February, when Mills won the 2008 election, he was appointed Minister of Finance and he was finance minister till 2012. So he was Mills's finance minister. He handed over to Setekwe, who obviously was his deputy at the time. And as he said, growth rate in 2011 was the highest, 14.5 something. Of course, oil was a big part of that. Exchange rate was 1.2 cedis to the dollar in 2009. Don't forget, Duffuor had redenominated, so it was around 0.97 to the dollar, and then it became 1.2. And by the time he left office, it was 1.88. So these are facts. Single-digit inflation was also there in the period that he was Minister of Finance. And then he met the convergence criteria for the West African Monetary Zone. I just have a final question on the NDC economic view before we come to this situation. If I listen to you carefully, you're saying that this government borrowed too much money prior to COVID. And the economic problem we face is that we don't raise enough taxes. So I'm suggesting to you that when you come to office, or if you come to office, you are going to raise taxes because based on what you said about borrowing, I don't think the NDC is going to borrow that much if what you are saying is to be believed. And you yourself have told me that if you want revenue, taxes or borrowing. Those are the two main ways to raise your revenue, right? So if you're not going to borrow more, it means you're going to tax us more. Should that be the conclusion I should take from your analysis so far?
No, you see, between 2005 2008, under the MPP, revenue mobilization grew by about 21% nominal growth. Okay? Between 2009 and 2012, it grew by about 32% nominal growth. Between 2013 and 2016, it dropped to about 19-20%. 2017 to 2021, it went down to about 14%. Because you see, the focus has shifted. Under Duffuor, the focus was on domestic resource mobilization. Under Prof. Mills, it was on domestic resource mobilization. At that time, we were not borrowing from the Eurobond market. We were focusing on the domestic resource mobilization. But when attention was shifted to Eurobond, it's easier to get $1 billion, but it's not easy to get 1 billion cedis from taxes. You understand? But the 2005, 2008 under Duffuor, 2009, 2012, they focused on domestic revenue mobilization and not Eurobond.
Wow. So you think that Eurobond reduced the government's focus on domestic revenue? It sort of gave them a cheaper way of getting money?
I think so.
Which later became more expensive because you have to pay back?
It's expensive.
So are you saying that under an NDC government, your resort to commercial loans and the Eurobond type loans will reduce?
We have to educate ourselves. If you have a project for Eurobond, go in for it and let the project pay for itself. But if you don't have a project for that particular fund, don't go in. It's not meant for budget support. It's a commercial facility. And they are meant for projects. You understand me?
Yeah. What was it like working as governor between 97 and the crisis year of 2000, when you already told me that oil prices had gone up, gold and cocoa had fallen? Your finance minister was Kwame Pipra.
Kwame Pipra, yeah, Kwame.
Was there an attempt to get the central bank to finance government, as we've seen in this past year, within your time?
I don't remember that. I don't.
Do you remember if there was zero financing? Because as we have the law now, there's 5%. Was there anything like zero financing of government by central bank? What was the state of play during your time?
It was 10%.
Oh, 10% of previous year's revenue?
Yes.
Oh, wow. 10%?
10%, yeah.
So even more lax than now?
Oh, yes. 10% of previous year's revenue.
During your time?
Yes, I could go to the government. To my time.
Was there ever a time government defaulted during your period?
No, you see, central bank belongs to government. It's a government bank.
Mm-hmm.
And as one of the mandates, because you are like a bank for the government,
mm-hmm.
you cannot refuse to lend to them when they are in difficulty.
Okay.
But you must go by the law.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And during my time, I did that. If government needs money,
mm-hmm.
we have to make accommodation for government.
Mm-hmm.
Accommodation, meaning apply, and it will be given to you based on the law that we have. But if we give to government without going through the law, it means you are printing money.
So let me get this straight. The problem is not central bank financing government. The problem is doing it beyond the purview of the prescription of the law.
Yes.
What is your opinion about this current situation? Because when I listen to the governor, if you look at paragraph 11 of his statement released on 21st August, and with your permission, I will read it. Actually, let me read paragraph 16. Paragraph 16. When Ghana was hit with COVID-19 in 2020, Section 36 of the Bank of Ghana Act 612, as amended, was triggered. And as indicated earlier, the bank purchased 10 billion cedis worth of COVID loans to support the economy through the pandemic. This was done within the applicable laws governing the Bank of Ghana. When Section 36 of the Bank of Ghana Act, as amended, is triggered, it allows the governor, Minister for Finance, and the Controller and Accountant General to agree on a new limit of central bank financing. The law further states that the Minister of Finance will then have to inform Parliament. And the Minister has since informed Parliament as part of his briefing to update Parliament on the IMF program and the status of the domestic debt exchange. Is that satisfactory? Is this explanation satisfactory to you?
See, it's referring to the emergency
Yes.
portion of the law
Yes.
that allows central bank to accommodate the government.
Yes.
Here, yes, the governor, the finance minister, and the controller, the accountant general, will meet and decide on the new limit. One is given. The law says the Minister of Finance should inform Parliament within 7 certain days. 7 days. So if the minister did that, it means there's no problem. But if he didn't do that, then he has broken the law.
So you agree with the point of informing and not, because I can inform you, but it's not the same as I'm seeking approval from you. The wording he uses is that I will tell you, which could be after the fact. Not necessarily go and ask permission to allow me to do it. If you follow. if you follow.
Under the emergency one,
Yes.
I mean, he's right. After the three of them, the
Yes.
governor, the finance minister, and the controller had agreed on the limit given to government, the minister must write to Parliament within 7 days.
So we should look at the timeline between when the money was advanced and when the finance minister informed Parliament.
Yes.
If it falls within the 7 days, it's okay.
It's okay. That's what the law says. This is the emergency one.
Yes.
But the other one, which says that you cannot give more than 5% of the previous year's revenue.
Let me read it, and I'll put this on the screen for viewers.
Okay.
Temporary advances, Act 31. The bank may, and this is Act 612, Bank of Ghana Act. The bank may make advances and loans to the government on overdraft or in any other form that the board may determine. That's A. B. The bank may make direct purchase from the government of treasury bills or securities representing obligations of the government. So that's one, A and B. Two, the total of loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills and securities, together with the money borrowed by the government from other banking institutions and the public at the close of the financial year under subsection 1, shall not exceed 10% of the total revenue of the fiscal year in which the advances were made. All right. Then, I don't know if I'm reading the...
You're reading the 202.
Yes, this is the Axis 1, not amended. But be that as it may, 6 of that says, in the event of any emergency, the governor, the minister of finance, and the controller shall meet to decide the limit of borrowing that should be made by government, and the minister shall submit a report on the issue to Parliament within 7 sitting days.
These 7 days. 7 sitting days, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, that's what the law says.
So what do you make of the brouhaha? People are saying the governor should resign, his deputies should go, the board should go, because what they did was
Well, this is about the emergency one.
Yeah, but that's what led to the problem, because he gave the government money.
No, they are referring to the domestic exchange program.
Yes, but the domestic exchange program, so you are right. So the money was lent to government, and then they also advanced further monies to government. Now, the finance minister then writes to the governor and says, as part of the DDE, all our creditors are going to take a haircut, and you should take a 50% haircut. So the governor says he speaks to the finance minister and the IMF to discuss the effect of that haircut on their balance sheet. And the IMF insists that if they didn't take the haircut, the IMF program would not proceed. So if you read, and I could read that to you, he's basically saying, if I didn't agree to the haircut, the IMF would not have given us the loan.
No, did he?
Yeah.
Because it's different from the emergency one. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Did he inform the minister and Parliament when he did that?
About the debt exchange.
Yes. If he did that, then he complied with the law, and nobody can do anything to him. But if he did not, then he has a problem.
Again, for viewers, let me just read what the governor said, and we are just trying to get the full context. So he says that this is paragraph 9 of his release. He says the holders of government debt had their debt instruments exchanged for new ones with lower coupon payments and longer ones.
Yeah.
Despite the resulting losses incurred by households, banks, and other financial institutions, the threshold of 55% of GDP was not met. As part of the solution, the Minister of Finance wrote to the Bank of Ghana with a proposed treatment of 50% haircut on Bank of Ghana holdings of government non-marketable debt. Naturally, the Bank of Ghana was concerned and fully aware of the implications of such a treatment on the books of the bank. We had several discussions with the Ministry of Finance, the government advisors on the debt exchange, which is Lazar and others, and the IMF on this treatment. Then he goes on to say, at the request of the Bank of Ghana, the IMF sent a technical mission of central bank balance sheet experts to assist the Bank of Ghana assess how the debt treatment would impact the bank's financial position and its ability to carry out its statutory mandate. The conclusion of that technical assessment mission was that the Bank of Ghana should be able to function effectively, i.e. remain policy solvent, even after the imposition of such a haircut. the IMF placed a high premium on this particular debt scenario involving the Bank of Ghana, as that was the only scenario that was going to allow the government to meet the debt threshold that would allow Ghana's IMF program to proceed for board approval.
No, I think what is it's not about the IMF. It's the law saying that if you and your board decide to pay so much to government, inform the minister and parliament. The IMF doesn't come in here. But I'm saying that if the governor and his board, after having done that, wrote to the minister and parliament, that means he has complied with the law. Understand?
He should have written to Parliament, not going to, because as I said earlier, in this, he said that the minister informed Parliament. We don't know if it was 7 days or not, because we don't know the exact time he gave them the money.
The 7 days is about the emergency.
Yes, so I'm saying that on this particular issue, he doesn't state that he informed Parliament. He just says that he proceeded on the basis of the fact that the IMF said they wouldn't give us the money if we didn't do this.
No, I'm talking about the law.
Yeah, so he should have still gone to Parliament.
Yes, he has written,
on the haircut.
Yes, on the haircut to the Minister of Finance. A copy to Parliament. This is what we have done.
But the minister is the one who is initiating the DDE. So the minister is the one.
Doesn't matter.
Who is the one giving him the haircut? So why should you write to the minister again?
The minister following so. This is what we have done. Copy to Parliament.
So the Parliament will know that it was at the minister's behest.
Sure, that's what we do in banking. I mean, you cannot call me on the phone as a banker, ask me for money, because you're my boss. If I do it, all right, following your instruction. This is what I've done. And I'll inform the other person. So when the minister asked for this, or even the IMF and the minister requested for this, after having paid that, after he and his board had done this, he should have written back. Following your instructions, Mr. Minister, this is what we have done. Copy to Parliament. Period. Nobody can fault him.
So if he had done that, that would have absolved him.
I want to believe that he did that. If he didn't do that, then that's a problem.
We will have to find out if he did this. The statement he issued has 20-something paragraphs, and I do not recall reading he say that after he did that, he informed Parliament. Indeed, the minority in Parliament have been trying to invite him to come and answer questions for which he's not been able to go. So I will leave that for his people to address. But this is still the point of view. When we come back, we'll wrap up on the finance minister, the governor's challenges, and look at some of the issues. There are issues around the building, $250 million at the time they're building it. And then what can be done to salvage the economy? Because as we speak, the T-bill rates have started going back up again. A lot of the so-called gains in the economy are still looking shaky. What are Dr. Duffuor's thoughts on what really needs to be done to resolve these matters? Stay with us.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Finally, anyone can become a house owner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated funds, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. You Go Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
Still on the point of view, guest Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, former governor of the Central Bank, former Minister of Finance. He says he's still a politician, he's still a banker, still a media owner, and we're talking to him about many things. Just a final point on the relationship between a finance minister and a governor. When you were finance minister under Mills, your governor was Ms. Arthur.
Yes.
What was your relationship like with him?
Very close. You see, the governor and the minister must always cooperate and collaborate. Cooperation because we all have our objectives. Central bank must make sure you achieve price stability, financial stability, and you're also acting as a lender of last resort. So make sure your staff are able to deliver. This is where cooperation comes from. The same happens to you, finance minister. Over there, my budget, my team had made sure that our budget was prepared, our targets were also achieved. And between me and my other governor or finance minister, we had to cooperate. Cooperate because, so we have to collaborate, you understand? Collaboration because the two of us have shared vision. We are working for the same government, same country. We have to succeed. So collaboration becomes very important for the two people so that you achieve your...
All right, people are making a lot of concern about the 60 billion CD loss of the bank. You're a banker who knows this better than most people. Are these technical losses arising from the debt exchange, so they are not really realizable losses?
Operational losses.
Operational losses. So should there be that much brouhaha over a technical loss? Because some people are saying that if you are a central bank making losses, what is your moral authority to oversee a banking sector which you expect to do well? So that some people are criticizing. So is it just, how significant is it for a central bank to make a loss?
No, it's the way we look at the central bank. I mean, Ghanaians or any country looks at the central bank differently. It's a very reputable place. They are the head of all our financial institutions, and everything ends there. So when they hear of such a thing, they become worried. It might not be true, but once they hear, oh, Bank of Ghana, any villager will get angry, annoyed or worried. Hey, it's Bank of Ghana. You understand? So, yes, this is not from the bank, it's from government. It's from government. If you look at the way the program has been structured, the IMF program given to us, the fiscal consolidation is so weak. If I pursued a very strong fiscal consolidation, domestic debt exchange wouldn't have come at all. 2009, when we took over, the fiscal deficit was 14.5. We did not go to the IMF. We prepared our own budget, and the new president said we should make sure that within 1 year we clear the mess we have inherited. You understand? So our fiscal consolidation was so strong that we were prepared to reduce the deficit from 14.5 to 9.4 in a year. Meaning we're going to cut it down by 5.1% of GDP. You understand? There was no problem. This particular one, because the fiscal consolidation is not strong, the IMF is insisting on the debt exchange. What can the governor do about the debt exchange? The bank is the biggest domestic creditor of government, you understand? And all such institutions have been affected by the debt exchange. Insurance companies, have lost so much. My insurance company lost millions through the haircut. Because that's what you could do about it. Even as a shareholder, I wasn't even consulted. So the debt exchange program is something we should all look at carefully. There was not much anybody could do.
What about the building? $250 million. Again, the governor says we started this prior to the crisis, and we've done about 50% of the building. A lot of people are taking issue with why you are spending $250 million on a head office within this time. What are your... And he says that the old building is not fit for purpose. You occupied that building for many years. So you could say a couple of things about this. Indeed, in his press release, he says the thought about building a new building started as far back as the 1990s. The Bank of Ghana, as far back as the 90s, began to search for suitable building. In 2012, the bank was allocated a land in Accra by a Lands Commission, which also had an issue. The bank continued the search throughout the period from 2013 to 2016, and it was in 2018 that SIC gave them the site. So it basically seems like a almost 20-year, 25-year project. Do you know anything about trying to build a new head office in your time?
I don't remember anything like that.
Really?
No.
There was no search for land to build a building in the 90s when you were governor?
Not at all.
Or when you were finance minister in 2000 and...
When I was the governor, what I was trying to do was to acquire the buildings around the headquarters for us to expand it one day. But we had not acquired a land or decided to build headquarters outside that place. But let me be honest, we also, 2000, we managed to bring in this reputable institute, West African Monetary Institute, which we believe will become the headquarters of West Africa when we decide to have one currency, equal. And they are not in the headquarters now. They are also in another place. Maybe they want them to join them one day. I do not know. But having said this, why don't we consult the architect who designed the building? Why don't you consult the quantity surveyors who did the quantities? And the contractor to check on this. You understand? We have a whole firm that has done the quantities. Are they confirming that the building will cost $50 million? Or we're only talking about it? Who is the quantity surveyor for that project? Has he confirmed that? What materials are they using? It depends on the materials they are using. Maybe they're special materials. So why don't you get in touch with the quantity surveyor to tell us why the project is going to cost $50 billion if it's true, for him to explain to Ghanaians.
Finally, the Minister of Finance said during the budget midterm review, that the economy has turned the corner. Do you agree with this observation?
What corner? You see, the first quarter of this year, if you look at the economic growth, which the Bureau of Statistics they have released, the first quarter, we had experienced a lot of contractions in very important sectors. We have experienced contraction in the construction sector, contraction in mining and quarry, contraction in wholesale and retail trade, contraction in water, sewage, and waste management. These are very important sectors which have contracted. So if you are saying we have turned the corner, how do you define turning the corner?
You obviously don't agree. Thank you for talking to us. I wish you well.
You're welcome.
I'm suspecting we'll be hearing more from you as the election year comes in 2024.
Okay.
See. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll be speaking to Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, who's the former governor of the Central Bank, former finance minister. Indeed, we spent a lot of time discussing the travails of the current team managing the bank. And we thank you sincerely for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The Point of View is brought to you by Bellpack. Bellpack, just perfect.